Lower Long Lake on April 10th. If we could start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Love that you guys do that.
Yeah.
It was great on Monday night because, we had a whole house full of people,
Right.
and when you hear like 50 people saying it, it's, it's kind of moving.
No, it's awesome.
They used to only do it at the trustee meetings, and I thought it was weird that we didn't do it at all of them. So I know it was weird at first for some to get used to it, but we do it at every meeting now. Yeah, it's worth it. All right, so first we have calling to order. We have also review the posted meeting notice. We'll start with Clerk Brooke.
Right, and so Tom Hayes from my office is the primary player who prepares all of these materials, works with our riparian representatives, and in recognition of that important role, he's going to take over presenting many of these items, and so here we go.
So per the Open Meetings Act of Michigan, notices for a business meeting need to be posted 18 hours before the start of the meeting. Notices were posted at the Township Hall, on the Township's website, and at the WRC office on April 1st, a Monday, well in advance of the deadline. So all is in order for that.
Thank you, Tom.
Next we have public comment.
It's going to be
Seeing
kind of
no
quiet.
Public, I will close the public comment. So next we have the business meeting minutes of July 31st. Unless there's any changes, I'd look for a motion.
I'll move.
Motion by Riparian Vlasic.
Support.
Support by Clerk Brooke. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That does pass. So next we have approving the Weir Management Joint Business Meeting minutes of July 31st. Again, if there's no changes, I'd look for a motion.
I'll move.
Motion by Riparian Vlasic.
Support.
Support by Clerk Brooke. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That also passes. Next, we'll review the 2023 lake maintenance.
And
So maybe Mike, you
Thank you,
could
Tom.
touch on that?
Yeah, so I mean, we have the report in here from Lake Pro. I think that's really what that refers to. And
It is.
Lower Lawn continues to have a good water quality. We really attribute this to the wheat harvest over all these years. Having harvested 3 times for all these years has really, I think, improved the water quality. I don't think there's anything in here that's problematic. I mean, it is a highly developed ecosystem. There's houses everywhere, and a lot of the houses have gotten bigger, and there's, we have fewer trees. I think if you took a picture, you'd see there's fewer trees than there were 20 years ago. But the lake seems to be doing really well. So I think that's and there's no, I don't know what it's under the Phragmites thing is the only new thing I have. It's not new, but it's an update. I don't know if that's under lake maintenance or that comes later under the adoption of the
It
budget.
might be, is that new business or under the budget? Is it in the budget?
It's in the budget.
Yeah.
It's in the
So
budget.
we'll
It's in the
discuss it
budget.
during the
Okay.
budget. Unless, would you prefer to talk about it now?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm fine.
All right. Next, we have confirming expenditures since the last review of July 27th through April 4th.
Tom.
So at every meeting, the Lake Board is asked to approve the latest invoices that have come in since the last business meeting. As you can see on the summary sheets, most of the invoices are from Seacrest Wardle, Oakland Harvesters, preparing of various billing stocks, and the total is $93,779.02.
Any questions on that?
Nope.
Look for a motion to confirm.
I'll confirm.
Motion by Riparian Vlasic.
Support.
Support by Clerk Brooke. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That also passes. Next, we have review the revenues, expenses, and fund balance for 2023. You good, Tom?
Yep. So this was prepared by the Township's accounting department. The latest version that was given to me is dated March 6th. I talked to Director Tice, and he will release the most recent update or fund balance reports next month. They're waiting for some more invoices to come in from the last fiscal year. But as of March 6th, the Lake Board brought in $104,615.96 in revenue. Expenses totaled $93,779.02. The surplus was $10,836.94, leaving the fund balance to be $46,480.64. So there's plenty of money in the Lake Board's account.
Great.
Thank you.
And next, we have review the certification of delinquent 2023 assessments to the assessor.
So in the fall of every year, the treasurer's office prepares a report of all the delinquent accounts for each of the lakes. And because the lake board doesn't meet on a regular basis, it is handled administratively and then brought to the lake board's attention at its next meeting, which is today. And simply asking for confirmation of last year's delinquencies, and then all the final paperwork will be sent over to the treasurer's office for their records.
Are there any questions on that? And then if not, I'd look for a motion to certify them.
I'll move.
Motion by
Oh, no, we-
Weir and Classic, support by Westbrook. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That does pass. Next, we have considering the adoption of the 2024 budget. Do you want to go over that?
Sure. So if you guys remember, at some point we went to a 4-year budget cycle. And so this is the last of the 4 years. And it's all worked out, I think, fine, and we have a good reserve. The expenses and the revenues have been very predictable because we got quotes on everything in advance. The only difference I would say on this page isn't a number difference. It's just under the second half of the page where it says Cardno for Phragmites control. That contractor no longer does that. And so this year, we're going to try to use Lake Pro, which is, and that paperwork is in the system someplace. I sent it to Tom. They made a proposal to do the Phragmites control, and then you had some comments about insurance certificates and stuff, and so I think they sent this stuff directly to you, and you were going to have the township
Yes.
lawyer with his good arm review that and contract it, see if it was okay. But it's a contractor that's worked on the lakes a lot, so they should be able to conform.
Or the lake board's lawyer.
I mean,
Yeah.
at this point, we're talking about the budget. So
Okay.
what I would suggest, and I think, Martin, we've talked about this before, what I would suggest is rather than for your budget, putting Cardno for Phragmites control, just put Phragmites control.
Okay.
We won't have to worry.
That way you want to, the
Okay.
budget is just for
It's just the number
the
part.
spending plan.
Okay.
Who does what is a different,
So should we take out all the names, Mark?
I
Like
would
Pro and-
suggest
okay,
that be the case, yes.
Okay. Okay, weed harvest, okay. Well, the budget, I'm not proposing any changes. It's the 4th year of a 4-year budget, and the budget's worked out well.
Great. Any questions? Did you want to mention the Phragmites control here, or you're good? Oh, that was all you needed?
Yeah, that's all. It's just a change in the name.
And are you going to add any more? I know, oh no, that's Forest Lake that asks for extra Phragmite control.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have money that was unspent because the Cardinal was a huge contractor, engineer contractor. They were sold to even a bigger company from Canada, whose name I don't remember, who decided not to do it, but they didn't really tell us they weren't going to do it. So we had approved a contract that had been through this whole process, and then there were 2 years of they did nothing, and then it took a little while to regroup and find somebody else to do it. So we have to actually have had 2 years of unspent Phragmites control. So we have plenty of money to spend on Phragmites control. And then, again, I think we'll have to revisit it. I don't remember what the cycle is when you want the new 4-year budget. Do you want it by this fall meeting, I assume, is probably?
So when we set the
the-
new
Well,
assessment.
there'll be a new assessment, right? New
Right.
budget, 4-year budget and assessment, which we usually do in the winter.
In the winter.
For the budget, I know we look at the 4-year project, but every year we approve a new budget.
Okay.
That's a requirement.
Okay.
And that needs to be done, like, we do it about this time each year because the budget needs to be approved
Okay.
before you can spend any money.
So if I did it for this time, if I did the 4-year for this, we just approved the 1 year of the 4-year, but I would have it the whole year, the whole 4 years done.
You would know the
Develop your-
assessment, right?
Yeah, develop your budget for the 4-year project,
Okay.
but each year you need
Okay.
to prepare a new budget to reflect
Okay.
what's actually going on.
Okay.
I think the 4-year budget, that's just like an estimate of what's.
Okay.
Exactly.
And so,
Assessment.
so the next budget is due this time next year, or is it due in the fall?
Typically, every budget is done about this time,
Okay.
I think is generally.
I just need a
I
deadline.
think, are you looking about to guesstimate for what we asked for the assessment, though? Is the assessment set in fall or also?
Well, the bills go
Well-
out in the spring for some of the lakes, so I think before then, we usually try to,
So if I was done by January
get
1st,
everything-
though, or
that'd be
whatever.
The
well
new
in advance.
assessment next
Okay.
spring.
We usually do
We could do it, I mean, we could do it in the fall, we could
we
do it in the
usually
winter,
do the
but
assessments in the fall.
That's what he's asking
Yeah.
about, is does
Oh,
he
I'm
have to
sorry,
have?
I thought he was
I mean,
talking
we're-
about the
We're doing
budget.
assessments, the
Okay.
very next meeting is an assessment.
Okay.
To set assessments.
So we should stick
we
with
do
the
it-
spring?
We do it in this, we do it in the winter or the spring, but it could be done in the fall. And scheduling is something we've talked about before, you know, it can be, it could be, we have that flexibility for fall, winter. Spring is getting tight, but
So I think, are you asking to
In
move
the fall, we also
assessments
have
to
the
fall?
presidential
Well, I'll get the
election,
four-year
so we're
budget done by
gonna-
the fall, because I want to
Great.
get a gold star. as people are
excellent, excellent. And we may, I mean, the earliest we, you know, as far as the clerk's office could look at it, would like be December,
Yeah,
early
oh, no, that's fine,
December.
I just, you basically, you know, the process is, I go to the contractors, and I ask them for a 4-year estimate of their work, and then I make a budget out of it. So I'll just have that ready whenever you guys want it, but it'll be this fall sometime. So then, I think then what we do is we do the math to try to make the assessment the right size, so that it covers the estimate.
Right, right.
Okay.
That balance of not wanting to over-collect, but also collecting enough to pay the bills.
Right, and I think what we did last year, because for 4 years, most of these contractors have put in an annual escalation. We pick like year 3, so we actually get too much money in we get a few excess funds in year 1 and year 2, and then year 3 we're even in year 4. But that, even in this case, I think I overshot from conservatism, because we have a pretty good sized fund balance now. So,
And it just has to stay within 10 to 15%, right?
Right.
So
the
as long as
fund
you're not
balance
above
have to
the
be
fund
10 or
balance.
15%
Between 10 to 15.
of the annual budget. This is getting to be a stressful job now. What am I supposed to do? Okay.
I'll just also note that for business expenses, it went up a couple thousand due to the fact that the newspapers we have traditionally used have shut down, and we'd have to move to the Oakland Press, which charges a higher rate. And then we also have to account for legal expenses for like reviewing resolutions and paperwork for the hearing of assessment, which needs to be scheduled next year. So, things to consider.
Right, and there's a line here for both D&O insurance and general liability
Yes.
insurance.
And that,
Which
you know,
all lake,
Right.
it's new really for all the lake boards.
Yep. We'll get that in the budget, in the go-forward budget.
the directors and officers insurance increased by 15%, and then the general liability insurance increased $200 per year. So.
Okay. So that's it, on
So-
the budget.
Any questions? Do you have questions on the
I
budget?
do not, but I was, what I'm anticipating is we'll approve this budget, and then we should do a motion to approve contracts pursuant to the budget, subject to legal review and chair approval.
That sounds like a good motion. Do you want to go with that?
Sure.
Wow.
We have a motion by Clerk Cook,
Second.
second by Perry and
And
Vlasic.
was that to approve the modified budget to remove the name of the contractors from the budget?
Yes. That's a hint.
I thought
They
I
call that a hint.
I thought I heard that. So we have a motion by Clerk Brooks, support by Perry and Vlasic. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That does pass. So next we have new business. Do you wanna-
So I have two things, if that's okay. One is, I do want to say Tom is fantastic.
Yes, he is.
So I just want to recognize Tom. I mean, this would be even a crummier job if we didn't have Tom, so. And then the second one is, I'm curious, the pipe tech, whatever, check of the outlet pipe, did that occur? I mean, or and what the results were? I mean, I know we approved it at that special Weir meeting, but I don't know if the actual work
Do
occurred.
you want to talk? Or-
Director Mahalski confirmed that the work has been done for the inspection,
Okay.
but there was no great damage that was noticed, so he's waiting on their recommendation. And
Okay. So the
once the report is
complete. we'll get it.
completed,
Okay.
he'll
I was
send
just
it to
curious.
us.
Okay.
But there's no major issues that arose
Okay.
since the inspection.
Cool.
Right, which was good news. I mean, so,
Yeah.
yeah, when they took a look, it's like, okay, no emergency. But
Correct.
the report is still pending, and the report will tell us what work should be done, if
Yeah,
anything.
lining it or whatever. Okay. That was my only question.
And then did you
And
want to
then
give an update?
we did talk a little bit about, I figured now's, as you
Yeah.
said, good time to briefly mention the proposed ordinances that
Oh,
the
yeah.
Department of Natural Resources have approved. They did find that there was local conditions that would permit local control of the waterways, and what they have allowed us to do is adopt a slow, no-wake ordinance. And plans are underway to discuss at the board level whether or not to adopt that. It requires 2 meetings of the Board of Trustees to do so. And also, we would then need to post signage in order to notify individuals of the rule and in order to actually enforce the ordinance. And under the rules the state has for local watercraft controls, the township can only accept the ordinance as proposed by the DNR or reject it. We cannot change it or modify it in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, really?
Yes, this is a situation where local control is very, very, there is no local
Restricted, yeah.
control. It's purely up to what the DNR decides. We as the locality can ask, which we did, and then they decide. If the board adopts the ordinance as presented, its enforcement mechanism would be the general enforcement clause that's in the ordinance, currently in the ordinances of the township, which is, it is a misdemeanor to violate the slow, no wake requirements. And we've had internal meetings with the public safety and our attorneys working towards proper signage and proper enforcement mechanisms.
And Martin, the signage, just out of curiosity, is there a standard for signage? Is it like no trespassing signs that have to be every so many feet? Or could you put it in the places where people could put a boat in and that would cover it?
The requirement is that there be proper signage at every access point.
Okay.
And so for Lower Long Lake, if I remember right,
There's a launch site.
okay, so there would be a sign at every launch site.
Okay.
Is there more than one on this
Well, there's
lake?
one
I
in
forgot.
Forest, there's one on Lower Long, there's one on Island.
Okay, just for Lower Long.
Yeah,
So there would be a sign at the access point, the ramp.
right,
But for Lower Long, because there's a waterway
Right.
between Lower and Upper,
yes.
there would need to be buoys placed there. And
Oh.
so that requires a permit
Okay.
to the DNR, and I've got this application
Okay.
Great.
for that.
Mark
But
and I
that'll
talked about
that'll be another point that needs to
Okay.
be brought up.
Buoys and a sign.
Presently, there's a sign on the canal
Mhm.
notifying people of the ordinance as it existed before.
Yeah.
Could we use that sign, replace that sign with a new one rather than a buoy?
Or you could put
Yeah,
buoys
I
there
think you-
too.
I think you could.
Oh, the
We gotta-
buoys
we
say
gotta
so,
come
no
in and
way.
out all the time,
I understand that.
Yeah.
And we can talk about the specifics,
Yeah.
but the general requirements are yes, and it's the township's responsibility to fund those and install them and maintain them.
Okay.
So in that extent, we've got local control to spend the money. So
That's funny. Would it be a help if I went and took a picture of the existing sign that's in the canal? I mean, I don't know if the township has somebody to send to go do that. It's in the water.
Unless you let me take your boat, then I'll do
I could do
it.
that too. Yeah, it has to be the other way. I
You wanna hand the
I
keys?
could
Yeah,
deputize.
the township does not have a township boat.
Okay.
Let me say that on
Okay.
the record.
Although,
Okay.
although the fire and police have asked for it, we
They
did
have a-
point out we don't have
have
a
a
public
boat.
lake, so.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, well, I'll take a picture of it and
Thank you.
Yeah,
send
that'd
it
help.
to, okay.
Perfect. So, and I think you're coming to the April 24th to decide, even though it seemed like a consensus for
It did.
adopting, we're trying to figure out, do we do the Green Lake way where they suggest, if you don't have new things, come back and appeal, come back instead of appeal with new, or if you have some new data, we go and appeal. So they're kind of, Martin's working on what's best. Do we,
I'm sorry, this is
So
with
the-
the state?
for the,
This-
yeah,
I think,
to the DNR.
I think the
We
sense of
appeal
the,
the DNR, yeah.
right, I think the sense of the board was they instructed me to come back with a proposed ordinance in accordance with the DNR. And then I asked if we could, at the next meeting, talk about whether to also appeal for certain lakes or to not appeal and bring us a second petition next year once we perhaps have additional evidence to support a new petition.
And nobody wants to
Which-
give up. That,
No one
that
wanted to
came
give up.
across.
Well, I'm
No one wants to
sorry,
give up
what's the appeal
on
for?
the motorboat part.
Oh, on the electric motor versus
So
internal
none of
combustion
the
motor.
7 want to give up. Martin's going to try and figure out
Oh,
if we
I
have
see.
an angle to appeal right
Oh, I
now,
see.
or
Oh, I
do we
get it.
need new information and go back again.
Oh, I see. So
But
keep
nobody
the
wants-
no wake part,
We're gonna-
accept the
Yes.
no
We're
wake
gonna
part.
grab that.
Because
But-
that's the most important part, I think.
It
For,
is.
for some, they were equal, and
Yeah,
so
oh,
that's,
yeah,
yeah.
that's interesting.
So
Okay.
we're going to try and not give up on, we just got to figure out what the best ways to
Right.
continue the
Well,
the charge.
I really appreciate all the effort you guys have put into it, because it's really important to the residents on these lakes, and I know it's not a giant issue in the greater world, but it's really important to these people, so,
It is.
yeah, we really appreciate all the effort.
They've done a lot of work, Martin and Tom and Mark have put in a lot of hours, so they,
We wouldn't
they're
have gotten
here for
here
you.
without all the support of the hundreds of people who showed up too to voice
Yeah.
their opinion.
Yes, that actually I think is what spun the DNR.
Did.
I
Yeah.
honestly think the packed houses of almost like 99.99, there was
Yeah.
one person of all the lakes that didn't agree.
Oh, really?
I've never seen that in my life, that kind of consensus, and I do think that the people's voices is what spun it.
I agree.
Well, and I
that
think if
was
you
important.
that hearing officer sat here and heard like 8 rounds of
Right.
everybody, so probably by the 8th round, I think we were,
Right.
along was the 8th, he was like, I know what Trevor's gonna say.
Well, and when that one person spoke, we're like, is there something wrong with his mic?
That's right. Where did he
That
come from?
can't be.
Does he really live here?
Yeah.
We had more than 175 people show up at the hearings, plus all the written comments that were submitted, and the comments by members of the Board of Trustees, and as
Oh,
and
yeah,
a
you-
comment by the board itself.
Yeah,
Um,
so that's
You know, we
awesome.
had our county sheriff support.
Yeah, and you had Donnie Steele
request.
was here.
Donnie Steele was here.
Yeah.
Senator Jeremy Moss was
Moss,
here. I mean, we really,
Yeah.
you know,
Pulled out all the
the
stops.
voice, we did, and we tried everything we could, and, you know, the DNR, we're happy in many ways what was provided, but disappointed that they didn't accept, you know,
Yeah.
what the local people wanted. You know, this is
Yeah.
this was their chance to make everybody happy, you
Yeah.
know?
Right.
So,
So,
Well, if there's no other new business, I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Motion
Second.
by Clerk Book, second by Riparian Vlasic, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you so much for everything.
my pleasure.